Hey folks, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. I had intended this for Wednesday, but I got mixed up on my days of the week. So this is Wee Thursday, meaning small for wee. This is a Sinkovich design knife made by Kershaw, under $20 US. You can get it with solid carbon fiber or aluminum on this side, either black or blue. I think those are the only two colors. It's called the Pub Pocket. You got a short Warncliffe blade, 8CR13, budget steel indeed. It's got a detent slip joint, bottle opener on this side, pry tool on this side. You could use it as a flat driver, but the pry tool is sort of rounded a little bit and not, flat on the edge. And then you've got this, sort of carabiner kind of hook kind of thing that you can use to hook it onto something so that you can take it with you. Or just drop it into your pocket and save it for when you need it, or keep it at the side of your bar. If you've got a bar in your basement or wherever, depending on where and how you live, you might just want to keep it at a certain spot where you're using it on a regular basis because it's got a really good pry tool thingy and bottle opener, and then sometimes you just need a knife. So there you go. We're going to take a good close look at this starting right now. I got mine from White Mountain Knives. They've got all three colors in stock. And if you're new to this channel, you don't know, but otherwise you've heard this a few times. I've got a 10% off coupon for White Mountain Knives for anything in their store. The code is CCE to use at checkout. And that makes this the best price I could find anywhere. Although I will leave some links also for Amazon and Amazon for a number of different countries if I can find this knife at a number of different countries. So you can look down below, get it either at White Mountain Knives or Amazon. That would help me out an awful lot. And like I said, I got mine from White Mountain Knives, shipped directly to Canada. No problems at all. For the blade, we've got a stonewash blade, hollow grind. We've got a fairly big sharpener's choil, but it's not big enough. That's right where the first con is of this knife. They've really messed up this. They should have had the plunge go either quicker or make the sharpener's choil bigger. That spot right there is the ugly spot on this knife. The rest of it's great. I'm sure that on Sinkovich's knives, the samples that he made, it didn't have this problem. But mass-produced, you start to get problems on these budget knives. Solid carbon fiber on this side. And, stainless steel that's also stonewashed on the back. There's the detent arm. And that works just like a liner lock or a frame lock in terms of how the detent works. You can see the detent ball right in the middle of that little thing. And so the detent on this is actually very good. And it would have to be very good. If the detent on this wasn't very good, I would never carry this thing anywhere because, you have to carry it either hanging or just loose in a pocket. And if the detent was no good, then there's a better chance that it could open up in your pocket, and then you've got a sharp point. It's not, super pointy, not like a stabby kind of knife. It is a Warncliffe after all, but you still have a point that could be exposed. But at least on my sample and the other ones that I've touched from, a couple of my friends have had some of these, and the detent on those was very good as well. So that's a good thing. This carabiner type thing up here works quite well. You can hang it either loop it into something. Here's a great example of how I've seen some people carry it, and I've tried it myself that way as well. Just clip it on to, the belt loop on some pants, and it's just going to hang there, and it's ready to use. You've got gravity always helping keep it down that way, and that's going to stop it from coming loose. And that way, if anything bumps into it, it's just going to move it instead of force it to start to open and and then come off. Whereas when it's on a keychain and you put it in your pockets and stuff, you can get something bumping into it and things and having it open up. I would not recommend putting this onto a keychain. It just doesn't make that much sense to me. I tested the bottle opener. It's well designed. It works quite well. And the pry tool as well. That's what I really like this for, is the pry tool. It's a really good knife to let people borrow from you as well. I always like to have two knives on me, one that I'm more willing to borrow or loan out than others. Because, if you loan out your better knife, you just don't know how it's going to come back anyway. So loan out the one that's the cheapest. Moving on. The screws are all flat. I like that. Really, really nice touch. Easy to take this knife apart if you needed to clean it up and stuff. Put it back together. It's got washers, one white nylon washer and one phosphor bronze washer. So I'm not going to take it apart to show you. There's no skeletonizing or anything to see. And, you've got a decent design blade. Sinkovich is a good designer. Hollow grind is done well. Just they didn't clean this up because the plunge is so slow. They would have had to have the sharpness choil come up to about where my nail is right there. And that's another full 1/8 of an inch, maybe more than an 1/8 of an inch that they would have had to do. So when I go to sharpen this knife, I'm just going to sharpen it right to the end. So it's the sharpening edge is going to come up and get wider on this part, but at least it won't terminate the way it does right here. It's just ugly the way this sharpening job is terminating. I'll give you close-up jobs of the before and the after for sharpening. And now it's time to go over all the different specs. Like I said, 8CR13, Rockwell hardness of around 57 on that. It's well built, nice and sturdy. It weighs 53 grams, which is 1.85 ounces. My cut test with this to see how sharp it is, the pressure test for testing the sharpness, 185 grams. That's not bad at all. Anything under 200 is actually very good. So 185, they made it quite sharp at the factory. But the cutting edge length, 4.16 centimeters, 1.64 inches. The thickness of the blade is 3 millimeters, 0.118 inches. The blade depth is 2.22 centimeters. That's 0.875 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, a little bit disappointing, 0.7 of a millimeter, 0.71 of a millimeter. That's 0.028 of an inch. I was wishing it would be a little bit thinner behind the grind, especially since you can't put an awful lot of force on this. Like, it's not like you're pushing around a fixed blade, so it could handle being a finer edge, but you have what you have. The grind angle of the final grind here, it's, well, different than most knives. This side where you've got the Sinkovich design is 14.1 degrees. And on this side, it was 13.4 degrees. So it's a very steep grind that they did on this. The handle length is right around 7.36 centimeters, 2.9 inches. A little bit less on the belly than there is on the spine. The handle thickness is 8 millimeters. That's 0.315 inches. The handle depth this way is also the depth when it's closed because it tucks right in. 2.63 centimeters, that's just over an inch. And then the total length of this knife when the blade's deployed is 11.3 centimeters, 4.45 inches. So it's a nice small knife that's easy to carry around and use when you need to use it. Any unique features? Well, having this kind of a rust lock feature is kind of uncommon these days, at least in North America. What a rust lock is, for those of you guys who are newer to knives, it's not really a locking system, but this slip joint has a lot of steel across the spine of the blade that goes back into the handle. So the distance from the end of the handle to the tip of the blade is pretty much the same as the amount of steel you have coming back on the handle. So a guy named Russell designed this as a way, you put your hand on here and it's effectively a lock. It's not closing onto your hand because almost any way you hold it, you're going to be holding the knife open. So they call that a rust lock system. So there's that. That's not very common these days. The knife came out about a year ago, so it's still fairly new, but most people have heard about this by now. If you're just hearing about it now, there you go. How much does this knife cost? Well, it's around $21.99. That's the full retail price, But you can get it White Mountain Knives after the discount for $19.79. That's for the carbon fiber one. The aluminum handled ones are $17.09 after the discount. So that's not bad at all. Roughly for the carbon fiber one, that's about 26 Canadian dollars, about 17.5 euros, just over 15 British pounds. But those of you in Europe and in the UK and anywhere else other than the United States, you're going to be paying more for this if you want to buy it in your own country. But I'll try to get you some links down below anyway. Pros and cons: easy to use, small, light, sturdy, well made, decent budget steel, legal in pretty much all places in the world. I can't think of any place in the world where this is not legal. It's a decent knife, easy to carry. The cons, well, basically what I told you before, it's poorly sharpened. They should have done a better job. It's sharp, yes, but I don't like this area right here. And I'm doing a video very, very soon. I've already recorded some of the footage for it on how to make a bigger sharpener's tool when the one you have on your knife is not big enough. So I'm working on that as we speak. And the other thing is, I don't suggest putting it on a keychain, because if it does open up a little bit, it can fall off your keychain. Best case, you lose it. Worst case, somebody gets hurt. So, but it's got a lot of different ways to carry it. Either just drop it in your pocket or some other way. It's a nice little knife. And sorry that you had to wait an extra day to get this video. It's one of those Canadian sorries. And in this case, it means absolutely nothing. Oh boy, we love the word sorry in Canada. And we use it so many different ways. I like this. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Very helpful. And thanks to everyone who's out there. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.